Take a moment right now. Just become aware of the space you occupy in space. Most people wake up every morning and immediately reach for their phone, checking emails, the news, and social media. In that one act, they are reaffirming their past, are plugging their biology into a predictable, known reality. They are rehearsing a state of being that is defined by stress, competition, and the constant fight or flight response. If you are living by the hormones of stress, viewing the world through a narrow lens of survival, and in survival, it is not possible to create a new future. You are simply repeating the same patterns, expecting a different result. That is the definition of a closed loop. To change your destiny, first change your internal state. Here is how we begin that transformation. Close your eyes for a moment and consider the way you began your day. For most of us, the very second we emerge from the fog of sleep, brain begins a lightning, fast search for the self. We look for our problems, our bank account balance, our to-do list, and the people who have wronged us. In that split second, your brain, which is a meticulous record of the past, reacts to those thoughts by triggering a chemical cascade. You start to feel the familiar weight of stress, the tightness in your chest, or the rush of cortisol that signals your body to prepare for a threat. By the time your feet hit the floor, you are no longer in the present moment. You have successfully plugged your biology back into a predictable, known reality. You are living in a survival loop, and as long as you are there, your destiny is on a pre-programmed track. When you are in the state of survival, your nervous system is operating in what we call high beta brainwave patterns. This is an incoherent, fragmented state of being. You are analyzing everything, assessing over the worst case scenario, and viewing every interaction as a potential competition or danger. This is the fight or flight response, an evolutionary gift designed to help you run from a predator. The problem is that in our modern world, predator is a coworker's email, a past memory, or an imagined future event. Because you are constantly triggering this response, your body never has the chance to repair or create. It is using all of its vital energy to defend itself against a ghost. You cannot create a new future when all your energy is tied up in surviving the present. Think about the sheer amount of energy it takes to maintain a personality that is defined by stress. You have to keep track of who you are supposed to be, what people think of you, and all the things that could go wrong. This creates a massive amount of internal noise. It is like trying to hear a beautiful, subtle melody in the middle of a construction site. To step out of this survival loop, you have to become aware of the noise. You have to realize that you are not the noise. You are the one listening to it. This awareness is the first crack in the door. When you start to observe your thoughts instead of just reacting to them, you are no longer the program. You are the consciousness that the controls. Stepping out of this loop requires a radical act of will. It means choosing to stop the momentum of the past. When you feel that familiar rush of irritation or anxiety, consciously decide to breathe and return to the center. You are telling your nervous system that the emergency is over. You are signaling to your cells that it is safe to come out of hiding. This is where the biological shift begins. You start to move from the narrow focus of survival, where you are obsessed with some body, something, somewhere, to an open focus. You begin to relax into the space of the unknown. The unknown is often terrifying to the survival mind because the survival mind equates the unknown with death. But the unknown is actually the only place where anything new can happen. If you stay in the loop of the known, you will get more you've already had. Your tomorrow will look exactly like your yesterday because you are thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, and secreting the same chemicals. To change your destiny, you have to break the habit of being yourself. You have to be willing to lose the identity that is addicted to the stress of the loop. This isn't just a mental exercise, it is a physiological overhaul. You are literally pruning the synaptic connections to the old self and creating a clearing for something grander to emerge. You are withdrawing your energy from the predictable timeline of your life and reclaiming it so that you can use it to build a new world from the inside out. This transition is uncomfortable, even painful at times. The body is going through withdrawal from its own emotional addictions. But on the other side of that discomfort is a level of freedom most people never even dream of. You are moving from the reactive state of a victim to the active state of a creator, silencing the internal alarms so that the quiet voice of your future can finally be heard. Consider for a moment the profound reality that your body does not know the difference between an actual experience in your physical world and an emotion you create by thought alone. A fundamental law of your biology that most people ignore to their own detriment. Your brain is a masterpiece of history, a record of everything you have learned and experienced up to this point. but your body is something entirely different. Your body is the unconscious mind. It is the servant of the subconscious, and it follows the chemical orders it is given without question. If you wake up and immediately begin to dwell on a bitter memory from 5 years ago, if you anticipate a confrontation that hasn't even happened yet, your brain begins to fire sequences and patterns that signal your body to produce the exact chemistry of that experience. Even though you are sitting safely in your chair, your body believes it is in that past trauma or that future crisis. It is living in a different time and space than your conscious mind. This is the language of the body. And if you want to change your destiny, you have to become fluent in a new conversation. The tragedy of becoming conditioned is that we have become addicted to our own internal pharmacy. We use the problems in our lives to reaffirm our emotional attachment to the past. We think a thought, that thought produces a feeling. That feeling produces more thoughts that are equal to that feeling. This creates a loop where the mind and body are perfectly aligned in a state of limitation. Over time, this repetitive cycle hardens into a temperament and eventually your personality. You begin to say things like, I am an anxious person, or I am a victim of my circumstances. But the truth is much more empowering. You are not those things. You have simply conditioned your body to memorize a state of being so well that the body now knows how to be that way better than the conscious mind does. The body has become the master, and the mind has become the servant. To break this cycle, take back the reins. You must understand that if you want a new life, you have to stop the chemical signal that keeps you anchored to the old one. When you decide to change, the body will rebel. It has been conditioned to a certain level of cortisol, adrenaline, or self-pity, and when you stop providing those chemicals, the body begins to send signals back to the brain. It says, why aren't you thinking those bitter thoughts? Why aren't we feeling that familiar guilt? It starts to influence your mind with whispers of, you can't do this, it's too hard, or I'll start tomorrow. This is the body trying to regain control. This is the moment where most people fail because they believe those thoughts are true. But if you can stay in that moment of discomfort, if you can observe the body's craving for the past and choose to remain the observer, you are beginning to re-educate the body to a new mind. You are teaching it that it is no longer the master. This is the process of unlearning and rewiring. You are literally stripping away the emotional layers of the old self to reveal the potential of the new. To truly change your destiny, you must begin to signal new genes in new ways. You must teach the body emotionally what the future feels like before it has even manifested. This sounds like a paradox to the analytical mind. It wants to wait for the wealth to feel abundant or wait for the healing to feel whole. But in the quantum reality, the experience follows the emotion. You must feel the gratitude, the joy, and the freedom of your desired future right now. When you feel gratitude, you are signaling to your body that the event has already occurred. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. By dwelling in that elevated emotional state, you are changing your internal environment. You are moving out of the past and into the present. And in that present moment, you are no longer defined by your memories. You are defined by your vision. You are no longer a victim of your biology. You are the architect of it. You are speaking a new language to your cells, a language of health, vitality, and limitless possibility. As you master this internal conversation, you will find that your external world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match the new signal you are broadcasting. You are no longer reacting to the world is reacting to you. When you begin to investigate the mechanics of your own internal landscape, you eventually stumble upon the realization that most of your life has been spent in a state of high frequency dissonance. In a world that demands our attention be split into 1,000 different directions, and each time we react to an external stimulus, a news headline, a deadline, a social media comment, our brain moves into a state of disorder. Disorder is not just a mental abstraction. It is a physiological reality that dictates the very quality of your existence. When your brain is firing out of sync and when your heart is beating in a jagged, erratic rhythm, are essentially broadcasting a signal of chaos to the rest of your body and to the field around you. To change your destiny, you must move beyond this state of fragmentation and into a state of coherence. Coherence is the bridge between the world of survival and the world of creation, and mastering it is the most important skill you will ever acquire. Think of coherence as a state of internal harmony where all the systems of your body, your nervous system, your cardiovascular system, and your immune system begin to dance to the same rhythm. When you are in a state of stress, your heart rate variability is low and erratic, sending a signal to the brain that there is a threat in the environment. The brain responds by shutting down the creative centers of the frontal lobe and activating the primitive survival centers. You become myopic, obsessive, and defensive. However, when you deliberately shift your focus to the area of your heart and begin to breathe slowly and deeply, you are performing a manual override on your autonomic nervous system. You are sending a new message. By focusing on elevated emotions like appreciation, care, or compassion while maintaining that steady breath, you begin to generate a coherent electromagnetic field that emanates from the heart. This isn't just a metaphor, it is a measurable physical phenomenon. The heart is the strongest generator of electromagnetic energy in the body, and when it is coherent, it acts like a tuning fork for the rest of your biology. As your heart becomes coherent, it begins to influence the brain. It sends a signal to the brain's regulatory centers, telling them that it is safe to relax. In response, the brain begins to move out of high beta waves and into more orderly alpha and theta patterns. Suddenly, wise of your analytical mind begins to quiet down. The frantic May, that is always trying to solve problems and manage the future, starts to dissolve. This is the state of flow. In this state, the walls between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind become thinner. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are no longer a collection of conflicting desires and fears. You are a unified field of intention. When you are coherent, you are no longer trying to will your way into a new life through sheer force and effort. Instead, you are becoming a magnet for a new reality. You are creating a template of order within yourself that the universe can finally respond to. Beauty of currents is that it is a skill that can be practiced and refined. You do not have to wait for a reason to feel joy or a reason to feel at peace. If you wait for a miracle to happen before you feel gratitude, you are still operating by the old rules of cause and effect. You are waiting for the outside world to change your inside world. To be a creator of your destiny, you must flip the script. You must create the internal state of coherence first. Let that state of order project itself onto your external environment. This requires you to sit still long enough to move past your body's urge to get up and do something, past your mind's urge to worry about the past, that sweet spot of the present moment where all possibilities exist. When you find that center, you are no longer pushing against the world. You are in alignment with it. When you live from a state of coherence, your energy is no longer being leaked away by useless reactions to the environment. You are conserving your vital force and using it to build a new future. You start to notice that coincidences and synchronicities begin to appear in your life more frequently. It is because you are no longer broadcasting a signal of lack or need. You are broadcasting a signal of wholeness. In the quantum field, like attracts like, if you are whole on the inside, the field will match that wholeness on the outside. How you to command your reality rather than being a victim of it. Mastering coherence means you are no longer at the mercy of the wind. You have become the master of the sail. You are training your nervous system to stay steady and calm regardless of the storms that may be brewing around you. And in that steadiness, you find the power to rewrite the very code of your existence. Are moving from the law of entropy and decay to the law of life and growth, and as you do, you realize that the destiny you were seeking was never something to be found, but something to be felt into being. To truly step into a new life, confront the most difficult obstacle of all, the sheer magnetism of your own past. Most people believe they are seeking change, but what they are actually seeking is a slightly improved version of the familiar. We are biologically wired to crave certainty. In the brain, certainty is found in what has already happened. This is why so many of us stay in jobs we hate, relationships that drain us, or emotional patterns that keep us small. The pain of the familiar feels safer than the vast, open potential of the unknown. But if you want to change your destiny, you must be willing to break your addiction to the familiar. You have to understand that your personality, the way you think, act, and feel, has become a set of memorized behaviors that function like an automated computer program. To install a new program, you have to be willing to step into the void where the old one no longer exists. When you decide to change, you are essentially declaring war on years of neurological conditioning. Your body has become accustomed to a specific chemical cocktail of stress, worry, or unworthiness. It has memorized these emotions so deeply that they have become part of your identity. When you try to move toward a new future, your body experiences a form of chemical withdrawal. It starts to signal the brain with thoughts designed to lure you back into the safety of your old self. It tells you that you aren't good enough, that this won't work, or that you're being foolish. These thoughts are not the truth. They are simply the protest of a body that is losing its grip on the past. To cross the river of change, you must be willing to leave the old self on the starting bank. You have to enter a space of transition where you are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are going to be. This middle ground is often called the void, or the place of no body, no thing, not where, and in no time. For the survival-based ego, is a terrifying place because there are no landmarks to hold on to. There is no social status, no past trauma to recount, and no predictable future to obsess over. However, for the creator, this void is the most fertile ground in existence. The quantum field where all possibilities exist as frequency and energy. When you strip away your identification with your physical body, the people in your life, the objects you own, and the places you go, you become pure consciousness. You are no longer a person trying to change a life. You are the awareness that precedes the life. In this state of pure observation, you are no longer bound by the laws of your past. You are in the realm of the infinite. Breaking the addiction to the familiar means becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. It means that when the familiar feelings of lack or frustration arise, you don't reach for your phone or a snack or a distraction to numb them. Instead, you sit with them and realize that these feelings are just old energy leaving your system. You have to become the master of your internal environment to such a degree that your outer environment no longer dictates how you feel. You can maintain a state of joy and expansion while your external world is still reflecting the old patterns. You have successfully broken the loop. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the source of your reality. You are teaching your nervous system to be independent of the conditions of your life. This process requires a daily, relentless commitment to the unknown. It means waking up and realizing that if you don't consciously choose who you want to be, your biology will automatically choose who you've always been. You have to be more in love with your vision of the future than you are with the memories of your past. People are more invested in their grievances and their limitations than they are in their potential. They would rather be right about why they can't change than be wrong and find out they are limitless. You are here because you're ready to give up that rightness. You are ready to step into the dark room of the unknown, knowing that it is the only place where the light of a new destiny can be found. By relinquishing the familiar, open up the space for the miraculous. You move from a predictable life of cause and effect to a life of quantum surprises, where the things you've been seeking begin to find you because you finally have the energetic room to receive them. Is the moment you stop living in the shadow of what was and start standing in the light of what is becoming. You are becoming the pioneer of your own soul, venturing into the uncharted territory of a life that is no longer defined by what you know, by what you are bold enough to imagine. To truly manifest a new reality, you must understand that the brain does not distinguish between a physical experience and a mental rehearsal. This is the secret door to changing your destiny. If you sit quietly and begin to mentally rehearse an action, a way of being, or a specific future event, and you do this with such focus and sensory clarity that you begin to lose track of time and space, you are installing the neurological hardware in your brain to look as if the experience has already happened. You are literally priming your nervous system to be the person you haven't yet become in the physical world. People spend their lives mentally rehearsing their failures, their resentments, and their fears. They spend hours every day imagining the worst case scenario, and in doing so, they are training their brain and body to stay stuck in a loop of limitation. To change your life, you must hijack this process and use it to build a cathedral of new possibilities within your own mind. Mental rehearsal is not just wishful thinking, it is a sophisticated biological process. When you close your eyes and truly inhabit the state of your future self, your brain begins to fire in new sequences and new patterns. You are activating the frontal lobe, the CEO of the brain, which has the ability to look out over the landscape of all the things you've learned and create a new model. As you focus on this new model with total intention, the brain begins to make new connections. If you repeat this process daily, connections become more permanent. You are creating a map for your future. But for this map to lead anywhere, you must combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. This is the fuel for your transformation. If you have a clear thought of your future, but you are still feeling the same old emotions of unworthiness or frustration, there is no power in the signal. You are sending a mixed message to the field. An elevated emotion like gratitude, joy, or love. A frequency, when you marry the thought of your new life with the feeling of gratitude, you are signaling to your body and the quantum field that the event has already occurred. This is because we usually feel gratitude after something good has happened. Therefore, the moment you feel gratitude, your body is moving out of the past and into a new timeline. You are no longer waiting for the wealth to feel abundant. You are feeling abundant now, and that abundance is the very thing that draws the wealth to you. You are no longer waiting for the health to feel whole. You are feeling the wholeness of your being now, and that wholeness is what initiates the healing. This is a complete reversal of the way we have been conditioned to live. We have been taught to live by cause and effect, waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside. But to be a creator of your destiny, you must become a master of causing an effect. When you get up from this mental rehearsal, the important thing is that you do not leave that feeling behind. You must walk through your day as if your prayers have already been answered. You must speak, act, and think like the person who already has the life you desire. You spend an hour in meditation feeling like a genius, but then spend the rest of your day feeling like a victim of your circumstances. You have just canceled out your work. You have returned to the old frequency. Challenge is to maintain that elevated state of being regardless of the environment. When the environment tries to pull you back into the old personality, you have to stay conscious enough to say, no, that's not who I am anymore. You have to be so defined by your vision of the future that the old world no longer has a hook in you. This process of rehearsal changes your energetic signature. Every human being is broadcasting a signature to the field. Signature is determined by how we think and how we feel. Most people are broadcasting a signature of lack. They are wanting, needing, and wishing. But the quantum field doesn't respond to what we want. It responds to who we are being. If you are a person who's already successful, already loved, and already healthy, you are broadcasting a signature that is a match for those experiences. You don't have to go out and hunt for your dreams. They will find you. They have no choice, a matter of resonance. You are becoming a magnet for a new destiny because you have aligned your nervous system with a higher frequency. As you continue this practice, you will notice that you no longer need the external world to validate you, or no longer seeking the approval of others or the accumulation of things to feel happy. You are finding that happiness within your own self-regulated state. This is true power. The power of a person who has conquered their own biology and stepped out of the shadow of their past. You are no longer a record of what has been. You are a living, breathing blueprint of what is to come. You are training your brain and body to live in a future that is so real to you internally that the external manifestation becomes merely a side effect of your internal transformation. You are the scientist and the experiment, the sculptor and the clay. You rehearse this new state of being. You are carving out a destiny that is limited only by the boundaries of your own imagination. One of the most profound realizations you will ever encounter on this journey of transformation is that the very effort you use to try and change your life is often the very thing that keeps your life from changing. We have been conditioned by a materialistic world to believe that if we want something, we must go out and get it, we must compete for it, and we must labor through the density of time and space to force a result. This reliance on sheer human will is a byproduct of the survival mind, which views the world as a series of separate objects and obstacles. When you try to force your destiny, you are essentially telling the universe that you are separate from your dreams. You are operating from a state of lack, believing that what you want is out there, and you are here. To truly shift your reality, you must learn the delicate and powerful art of relinquishing control to a greater intelligence. This greater intelligence is not something outside of you. It is the very force that gives you life. It is the same intelligence that keeps your heart beating, manages thousands of chemical reactions in your cells every second, and keeps the planets in their orbits. A field of infinite information and organized energy that responds to your internal state. When you have done the work of calming your nervous system, when you have set a clear intention for your future and felt the elevated emotion of its fulfillment, completed your part of the equation. The next step, and often the hardest for the analytical mind, is to step out of the way. You must surrender the how of your manifestation to this higher order. If you try to predict how your new life will show up, or if you try to control the timeline, you are limiting the infinite possibilities of the quantum field to the narrow constraints of your own limited experience. You are trying to fit a multidimensional miracle into a three-dimensional box. Surrender is not an act of weakness. It is an act of supreme trust and sophisticated power. It means that you have become so convinced of the reality of your inner vision that you no longer need to check your external environment for evidence. You are so aligned with the frequency of your future that you are willing to let the details be handled by a mind that can see far beyond the horizon of your current circumstances. Most people equate surrender with giving up, but in the realm of creation, Surrender is about letting go of the ego's need to be right, to be first, and to be in charge. It is the moment you stop trying to make things happen and start allowing them to happen. This requires a level of internal stability where you are no longer swayed by the presence or absence of results. You have found a state of grace within yourself that is independent of the world. And in that state of grace, the quantum fields swing wide open. When you relinquish control, you move out of the vibration of trying, which is a high beta stressful state, and into the vibration of allowing, which is a coherent alpha theta state. In this relaxed state, your energy is no longer blocked by the resistance of your own doubt. You become a conduit for the creative force of the universe. Think of it like a gardener who prepares the soil, plants the seed, and provides the water. The gardener does not stand over the seed and scream at it to grow. They do not dig it up every 10 minutes to see if it has sprouted. They trust the intelligence within the seed and the earth to do what they know how to do. Your intention is the seed, elevated emotion is the water. Your surrender is the sun that allows the process to unfold in its own perfect timing. This trust creates a sense of profound peace. You start to move through your day with a quiet confidence because you see the changes yet, but because you feel the change within your own biology. You are no longer living in a state of emergency. You have moved from a life of push and pull to a life of synchronicity and flow. You begin to realize that the more you let go of the need to control, the more you actually gain mastery over your life. This is the paradox of the quantum, to have it all. You must be willing to give up the need to manage it all. You are inviting a level of magic into your life that the analytical mind cannot comprehend. You are allowing the universe to surprise you, to bring you your heart's desire in a way that is better than anything you could have planned. By yield to this divine organization, you are no longer a lonely individual fighting against a cold world. You are an integrated part of a vast, intelligent web of life that is conspiring for your highest good. You are finally resting in the knowing that the work is already done, and you are simply walking into the harvest of the energy you have sown. Final and perhaps most defining test of your transformation is not what happens when you are sitting in the silence of your meditation, but what happens the moment you open your eyes and step back into the world. Easy to feel like a master of your destiny when the room is dark, the music is soft, and no one is making demands on your time. But the true work, the real evolution of the soul, begins when you stand up and re-enter the environment that for years has dictated who you are. To change your destiny, you must become the observer of your own life. Develop a level of self-awareness so acute that you can catch yourself in the act of being your old self. You must become the consciousness that stands behind the personality, watching the thoughts, the habits, emotional reactions that have kept you bound to a predictable past. Most people are a masterpiece of reaction. They are like a leaf in the wind, tossed about by the opinions of others, the fluctuations of the economy, or the behavior of their family members. Something bad happens, they feel good. If something bad happens, they feel bad. This means their internal state is a complete slave to their external environment. As long as you are reacting to the world in this way, you are not a creator. You are a victim of your circumstances. To break this cycle, you must learn to maintain your internal state of calm and coherence regardless of what is happening in the world around you. What it means to be in the world, but not of it. You are in the environment, but you are no longer being influenced by the environment. Instead, your internal frequency is so strong and so stable that you begin to influence the environment. Becoming an observer means that when your boss speaks to you in a way that used to trigger a rush of defensiveness, you notice the feeling rising in your body, the heat in your chest, the tightening of your jaw. And instead of unconsciously reacting, you simply watch it. You observe the chemical surge as if you were watching a storm from a safe distance. In that moment of observation, you have created a gap between the stimulus and the response. In that gap lies your power. When you choose not to react with the same old emotion, you are literally breaking the synaptic bond of the old self. You are telling your nervous system that the old program is no longer valid. Every time you catch yourself and return to the present moment, you are winning a victory over your past. You are proving to yourself that you are no longer a victim of your biology, but the master of it. This level of mastery requires a relentless vigilance. You have to be more interested in your internal peace than you are in being right in an argument. You have to be more committed to your vision of the future than you are to your habit of complaining. If you spend your morning cultivating a state of joy, you spend your afternoon gossiping or feeling resentful, you have returned to the vibration of the old self. You have lost the signal. The goal is to carry the energy of your future through the entirety of your day. Doesn't mean you will never feel a negative emotion again. It means that when you do, you recognize it quickly and you don't allow it to define you. You don't let it settle in and become a mood, then a temperament, and then a personality trait. You observe the energy, you acknowledge its presence, and then you consciously shift your frequency back to the heart. As you become the observer, you start to notice that the world begins to change around you. People who used to trigger you may suddenly stop bothering you, or they may even drift out of your life altogether because you are no longer a vibrational match for that conflict. Opportunities and new people begin to appear because you are broadcasting a different signature. You are no longer living in the survival-based state of me against the world. You are living in a state of unity. You start to see that the external world is actually a mirror of your internal state. If you want more love, you become the observer of your own lack of love, and you choose to embody love anyway. If you want more abundance, you observe your own thoughts of scarcity, and you choose to feel prosperous anyway. This is the path of the master. It is the path of a person who has taken full responsibility for their life and their energy. You are no longer waiting for the world to change so that you can feel better. You are changing so that the world can reflect your greatness back to you. You are becoming a person who is so steady, so regulated, coherent that you become a lighthouse for others. Your very presence begins to calm the nervous systems of those around you. You have moved from a life of unconscious reaction to a life of conscious creation. You are no longer a record of the past, a living, breathing vision of a new future. By staying in the seat of the observer, you are constantly pruning away the old and nourishing the new, assuring that every thought you think and every emotion you feel is a deliberate brick in the foundation of your new destiny. You are the architect of your own biology. You're not a victim of your genes or your past. You are a creator waiting to happen. Storm within, and watch how quickly the world around you begins to reorganize itself to match your new vibration.